Hello and welcome back to our series where we are building a people and culture management system, particularly a compensation dashboard. And we are currently focusing on populating data within our market comparison section here. Now, this is what the company pays. We're going to break it down by quartiles and what the market pays. This series is brought to you by Prairie HR Solutions. My name is Jake Finger, principal consultant and founder here at Prairie HR Solutions. And we're going to pick up and utilize what we did in our last video. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about here, please go back and watch that last video. What we did was we created a helper function, two of them actually. And the first one was to find our median of our salary data. And the other was to find the quartiles at the 10%, 25, 75, and 90%. And what we're going to use those for is to find the median here, because right now this is simply just a regurgitation of our average. And we don't necessarily want that because our salary survey data is focused on our median. And then we also need to find our 10%, 25% to match our market pay so we can start doing a serious comparison here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to take one of our helper functions that calculate the median and find that and then populate it here instead of our average. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to find in our total rewards where all of our helper functions are, and they're right here. Now we're going to have to take our helper functions from our Google Apps script side and bring it over here to our JavaScript side because we're not telling our JavaScript side or our client side to go and find a function or run a function on our app script side. So we're just going to put it right here. That way it has access to it because right now these are not connected to our Google Apps script side because we haven't told it to go over there and use a function there. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and grab these two functions that we created, and we'll just copy it. And we'll come over here to our total rewards and we'll put it down here. Because that way our client side can just run it from the client side. Okay, good. So now what we can do is come up here to our header on our total rewards page. And what we're going to want to do is pass this salaries to our calculate median function. And we're going to do that as an argument here. So let's come down here and find out where we can do that. So here is all of our calculations. And okay, so here's our placeholder for our median. So this is where we were going to conduct all of our median pieces. And we're actually going to move this down here, actually, because that's controlling the slider. And in order to populate the slider with a median, we need to find that median. So this is simply taking that comp org average salary, finding the value of it, and then setting it to the market. And we don't want that. What we want to do is take the market org median and fill it with the result of this function here. So we can just simply do what we've been doing down here and say document.get element by ID. And that ID is going to be our market org median. And we want to set the value of that to the result of that function. And that function's name is calculate median. And if you don't see, if you're working with this and you're working along and you don't see this calculate median pop up, it means that your page here doesn't have access to it, which means that you haven't transferred it over from your analytics to your JS file here. Now what we're going to pass through here is all of our salaries, this array right here. So we need to come down here and hit salaries. And then what we want to do is we want to, well, first let's do that and then we'll work on our salary org slider there. So we actually, let's just comment this out for now because we don't want to find the average salary, regurgitate that. We want to set it to this. All right, so let's refresh this and see what we got. Okay, so this is all of our data. We'll open this up. Okay, good. So you'll see now we have the average and the median. Now you'll notice that this median doesn't necessarily look like this. And the reason is because we haven't formatted it to look like this. But what we can do, let's try something first before we format it. Let's set this value to this because it's in that format. So we can kind of not necessarily cut a corner, but we wouldn't have to do this. So we wouldn't have to parse float it or anything. So after this, let's grab, so this market org salary is going to be equal to, so let's create ourselves a variable here, and let's just say market org med is equal to document.get element by ID, and that ID is going to be this. And we want the value of that. And now it's stored in the variable. So we can ax this. Well, let's think about this, because what's going to happen, let's think of the order here. So first it's going to find this value here from the result of our formula. And then it's going to populate that in there. Then we're going to grab this. It'll populate it into that slider bar, and then we can change it to this. So let's see how much that works, because I don't want it to be visible that it's doing this. Okay, so we have this now, and we have this value. So now what we need to do is just set the value of our document. We just need to grab this. It's the problem when we're dealing with different things of different formats. We tend to do like these little offshoots on these branches in order to get it to look right, and we take it back and forth. And market org med. Okay, so that should take care of that. So now let's see if that actually changes it. So we'll save this and then we'll go back to our form here and refresh it. Okay, 90. So let's change this to, let's change it to HR director and see how it changes. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now it's changing it to the median, which is good. Let's change it over to an employee, because an employee should be exactly the same. Okay, yep, 91, 91, 91, 72. Okay, good. So now after this is set to the median, then we can change this to that. So let's see how that works and if it's a noticeable difference. So what we're going to do is let's get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. So now that we have the slider, let's change this to the format that we're used to. So to do that, we can come down here and use this. I'll call this again. This way we're not having to take it there and then take it back to figure out our slider. We'll just do it in one. So what this is going to be number, and that number, we'll grab this. What we're going to turn to a number is that. So let's store this into a variable here. Let's put this into a variable. Let's call this market org median data. Okay, so now that's an order. So now that's that. And we want to set our market org. No, let's not do it this way. Let's just take this. Let's take this and, sorry about that. Let's take this, and after it's set up here, we will then grab this value, and this is going to be this. And then what we'll do is we will take this market org median, which is here again, and then we will pass this to a number. So essentially what's happening is we are going there, grabbing the value in the old format, and then setting that value over again with our number. Okay, so let's save this and see how that works. And see if it's a noticeable difference. If it's a noticeable difference to where the user is seeing a number and then it flips, we'll change it differently. So let's just see how this goes. If it's noticeable, we'll just do it on the back end. All the calculations and then populate it. Essentially what we'll do is we'll move the slider first and then populate that field. Okay, so here we have the median, slider, average. So let's change this to project manager, and we'll come down here and see how it changes. Not much. Didn't notice it at all. Manager. Yep, nope, didn't notice it at all. So, I mean, we can leave it that way. Or what we could do, completely up to you. If I was doing this, off camera, just coding like crazy, I would just have it done ahead of time before I set it. But it's fine this way. So we can actually get rid of now this. And let's create a comment here so we know what this is doing. This is calculating and populating the median. So now let's calculate and populate the percentiles. So what we can do with this is we need to essentially grab that 10% percentile, and we need those IDs, and I don't even know if we created IDs for those, so we may need to do that real quick. Okay, so that's not our market pay, this is our company pay, and we did not. So let's call this, let's give this an ID, and we'll call this ID market org 10. And let's copy this and we'll change this around. This will be $25. then we have the median. And then this one here is, make sure you put this on the input and not the span. And then this one will be this, 90. Okay, good. So now that should be fine. One thing that I want to do with this slider here is I want to take this, well, we don't need this on change thing here anymore. We can go find that and get rid of it. I want to put this to disabled because I don't want people moving it. I want people to just grab it and start moving it around. Because if they move it around, it really doesn't mean anything. It doesn't produce anything. Okay, so we're going to need to grab this market org 10. And then we're going to need to set the value to whatever the result of our pay is here. So let's grab that element by ID. And this is market org 10. And we want to set the value of that to something. Now we're going to need to set the value as a number. Because if not, it's just going to come, I mean, we're going to need to format it. If not, it's just going to come as those, you know, all those numbers squished together, not formatted with the comma or the decimal. So let's copy this piece. We're going to need that, and we'll put this here. Now it'll be a number formatted in what we want. So this isn't going to be calculate sum, though. This is going to be calculate percentile. And when we look at what we need in our percentile, so our percentile is going to be the data we need. Well, we have the salaries. And the percentile we're going to need is essentially the number. Now, we were using an array, but for now, I just want to put this as 10. So let's, do salaries. It's going to need the salaries as that array. And then let's just pass 10 through here and then see what we get. Okay, we should get a number in here. So this is now the 10th percentile. So now let's go ahead and populate the 25, 75, and 90. Now we're sticking with annual just because that's how we're always doing our calculations. Our fictitious organization has a policy and a procedure to where when we calculate any type of compensation, and this is just for the sake of ease in this, it can be whatever the company is, but our fictitious company says that when we do anything with our calculation of compensation, we take it to annual first, and then we break it down. So we're sticking with annual. Now, a lot of times that you're going to get salary data, you'll have it in either hourly or annual. So that may be something that you're going to need to work around. But for the sake of this tutorial and developing this thing, we're just going to use annual. So now we have the percentiles here. So let's copy this and then do it 5 more times, or not 5 more times, 3 more times. Just starting to go crazy and just doing things like crazy. Okay, so we have, this is going to be 25, and this is going to be 75, and this is going to be 90. Now we could change this to 100 and, or 99 and 1, but since our data is set up in the 10th percentile and 90 up to the 90th, and we'll just do this. So now that should take care of that. So let's save it, and then we'll go back and refresh this. Open it up, and there we go. There we go. So let's change something here. Let's change this to 99. Just to illustrate how this is dynamic. So what I did is I'm coming over here, changing this to 99, and I'm going to change this to 1. Save this, and then we'll come back over here, and you'll see that this is 48,438. This is 135,537. So if we come up here, our highest paid amount should be 156.69. So our 99th percentile should be around that. So let's refresh it. And this is however you break down your quartiles in your organization. So now this, let's see, we have 148, 156, 148, 148. Yep. So that would pick up that 1%. Now, if we did say 100 and 0, we may get something interesting. And the reason why is we would have to do something different if we just do the flat minimum. Let's see, just in case if we have to, I'll show you what we would have to do. Okay, nope, it picks it up. Okay, so we have 156,691 is the maximum, and then our minimum pay, or that floor, is 4021. So it should be somewhere around here. There it is. Lowest paid employee, highest paid employee. Okay, so if this just didn't happen to work, or it didn't work with that max for whatever reason, which could be depending on how you have your data set up and whatnot, we could create a helper function to find the minimum and the maximum pay. And I think what we should probably do is just that. We should find a way to find our minimum and our maximum, to find that highest paid person and that minimum paid person. Let's change this back here to quartile. Since our percentages, since our data is coming at the 90 and 10th percentile, it would be nice to figure out what exactly that minimum and that maximum pay is. So what I think we should do here is we have our job title, base pay, annual pay, and what we need to do is find our minimum and our maximum. So let's see. I'm going to put the minimum and the maximum. See, we have our market pay. Maybe what we'll do is we have a span. We'll just put it here. But let's first create this helper function to find the minimum. And what we can do is use the same function and just return an array to where that 0 index is going to be the min, and the max is going to be the index 1. So let's go ahead and create that real quick. And if you don't need this, that's fine, but I think it would be nice to just have yet another way, or another function snippet, to calculate that min and the max. So let's create a function. Let's say calculate min max. And this is simply just going to take an array, and we'll just call this array, let's just call it numbers. Yeah, I don't want to use data anymore. Let's call it numbers, because that's what it's going to be. Of course, it'll also be data. We just use data quite a bit. And the first thing we're going to need to do is check to make sure that that array, again, is not empty and it has stuff actually in it. So let's just take this and put it right there. So that'll check that. And we need to now find the min and the max, and we can do that simply by using math.min and math.max with a spread operator. And that spread operator is those three dots. So this comment will be use math.min and math.max with spread operator, dot, dot, dot. Okay, so let's create a constant. We'll call this min, and that variable will be math.min, and we want to take the numbers. But we don't want to just pass this numbers because we need to create a loose array of it. We don't want to overwrite that. So that's what this spread operator is going to do. It's going to create a copy of it and then find the minimum of it and store it in that variable. So then the next one will be max and max of numbers. And then we simply want to return this as an array, min, max. So to access this would be 0, this would be 1. So now let's come back over here and grab ourselves well, first, now that we have this, let's grab this and pull it over to our JavaScript side here and add it to our nice little library we have of useful calculating functions. So let's create those fields. And for now, I'm just going to put those fields up here because I don't want to deflect from this, but I'll just put them up here right after these three. And then if we don't like where that is, we'll just change it. So let's come find this piece here. Here we go. So we're going to want to put it right here. So let's just grab this and we'll make a copy of it. And then we'll take a chainsaw to it. So we don't need this last column. Delete that. And this is going to be 6. It'll be very big, but it'll be fine. And this is going to be min pay. And this is going to be max pay. And since this is so big, let's give it another span here before we start the input. And we'll have to do a placeholder here, min pay. Well, no, this should be XX, XX, that's the placeholder. This is going to be, this should probably be lowercase here, XXXX, XXX, there we go. And this will be minimum pay. And our ID is going to be comp market org min. There, no, that'll be fine. And then this one here is going to be comp market org max. We'll make that even. And this is going to be maximum pay. Sorry, bear with me for a second while I fill all this out. Okay, dun, 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 dun. Okay, good. So now what we can do is simply pass that information over to our helper code and then populate these here. So what we can do is come up to our calculation piece, and after we get our salaries, and let's just say after we populate the percentiles, let's calculate the min and max. So we'll first need to grab our document, get element by ID, and our get element by ID is going to be comp market org min. Is that right? Let's go down here and check just to make sure. market org max, market org min. Okay. And the value of this is going to be equal to, well, we need to dive in to the salaries piece. So what we should probably do is put that variable, we should probably put it in a variable first. So let's create a variable and call this let min max equals, and then this is going to be a number like so. And what we're going to pass is not calculate the percentile, it's going to be calculate min max, and we're going to pass the salaries to that. And then we're going to turn it into a number with those digits. Now remember, it's going to return an array. So this should work. If not, we'll have to do some troubleshooting. So this min max, we want to get that minimum, which is at that 0 index. So it will be min max 0. And then we simply need to do the same thing to the maximum. Max, except it's not going to be 0, it will be 1. Okay, so let's save this and see how this works. Should be up here. Like I said, we can always change it if we don't like the way it looks or where it's at. But let's just get it pasted in there and then see what it's populating. Okay, so nothing's populating here, and there's probably a reason why. Let's see what we got. Okay, data is not defined. So let's see what data it's talking about. Calculate min max. Okay, so calculating min max. So it's saying that our min max salaries is not defined. So let's see here. Calculate min max. Oh. Yep. That'll do it. It's a problem when we copy and paste it. Okay, so when we come back over here and look at our code, I came down here to our calculate min max, and since we copy and pasted up from this up here, this is passing data down here. So it had no idea what it was talking about. That's because we didn't change it. That was our fault. Okay, so now let's save it. Let's actually come back over here and change this, because I know we have duplicate functions. These I'm going to put in our utility file just so we have them. And okay, so now let's come back over here. We'll close this out and we'll refresh it. Now it should populate. Let's make sure it populates here. Yep, okay, populate some data. Good, there's some data. There's that. Minimum pay is in A. So NA is 0 and 1. So what it's attempting to do is essentially spell out not a number. So since not a number is NaN, this is index 0 and that is index A. So let's actually do something a little bit different here. And then we'll figure out why it's coming back as not a number. So instead of this, we may have to find this first and then turn it into a number. So let's try that. So we'll get the data first and then populate it into the format that we need. Let's see how that does. Okay, yep. Okay, so that's our minimum, that's our maximum. Now we just need to take this like we did before and then format it. So let's do that real quick. So we did that same exact thing up here. So let's grab our information into a variable after we set it. Well, let's, instead of setting it to this, let's find those numbers and then create another variable. Let min equals min max, and then, well, actually, let's just copy this first. Actually, let's copy this first. This will be easier and less confusing for everybody. So what we're going to do is we are going to take this and create a new variable called min, and this is going to be set to min max 0, to where we can now set this to just straight min, and then we can do the same exact thing to the max. We'll format the max here to 1, and then that will be max. Okay, so let's try this now and see how that works. Maybe a little interesting because we're using numbers. I've never used an array inside a constructor with a number, but we'll see. Okay, perfect. And there it is. Good. Good, 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 good. And now if we were to select, say, operations specialist, it'll change. Should change when it gets done loading. Okay, there it goes. It changed. That moved. That looks good. And we'll try it with one employee. We'll try employee number 13. What an unlucky number. And there we go. So the min pay, when you select one employee, obviously the min is going to be the max, as is the average and the mid. And you'll see the mid is this entire range here for our, because this value is set to 1 to 200,000. So it's going to be, in this. We just got to make sure that these are exactly the same. Okay, so good. Good, good, good. So I'm going to give some thought to where we can place this min pay and max pay. If you're following along, not sure where you're going to put these. I'll probably put them somewhere. I don't know. I'll put them somewhere. And then in the next video, we'll probably go over actually how to either populate this, or since we've done this numerous times, going into our spreadsheet data and then filtering. If you're following along, I suggest you take a stab at that and go ahead and try it yourself. But in the next video, we'll go ahead and build that out. That way we can get this all populated, assign it to this, and then see see what else we need to change. We already know that we're going to need to change our employee number, and how it's, if we're just searching by employee, we're going to have to figure that out because we also need to know the jobs. But good. So we got this, we got it functional, and we've built out our minimum, maximum, and our quartiles and median. So that's good. And if you enjoy what we're doing and if you find this useful, please hit that subscribe button. Let us know to continue on this path. And until next time, please take care.